Welcome to this week's episode of Talk of the Town. My name is Philip Swiskett, and I am back with my good friend and co-host, Dr. Kenneth Harper from Vein Specialist of the South. If you have any questions about your veins, give my friends at Vein Specialist of the South a call, and they will get you the answers that you need. Now, Dr. Harper and I are both from the Middle Georgia area, and one of the things that we love most about Middle Georgia is the rich musical heritage that our city has. One of the groups that is bringing that into the future is Macon Pops, and we are so excited to be here with the CEO and president of Macon Pops today, Steve Moretti. Steve, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Now, Steve, I actually know that there's a Macon Pops event coming up because that's the only thing that all my friends are talking about. You guys have an absolute cult-like following. It is amazing to see that. However, if someone is new to Macon and if they don't know what Macon Pops is, tell us, what is Macon Pops?
Macon Pops is sort of a new approach to what most people refer to as the non-classical performances of orchestras, as the Pops world. It was started way back with Arthur Fiedler, the Boston Pops. But we sort of take a different approach to it. I like to, the way I sort of describe it is, it's the energy of a rock concert with the finesse of an orchestra. So it's sort of blending those two worlds where we're more of an event type of experience as opposed to what most people think of an orchestra as pretty serious, and we take what we do very seriously, but we want the experience for people to let their guard down and have a good time. They can hoot and holler. They don't have to be prim and proper. They don't have to have it. There's no dress code. As long as you have clothes on, we don't care. It's a long description, but to try to give somebody a picture of Macon Pops, I say that would be the closest.
So there's a little dancing sometimes?
Absolutely. We have a dance floor. Well, we used to do all of our concerts in one venue. We used to do them all at the Macon City Auditorium. And so we decided to change things up, and we offer what we call different concert experiences. So our first concert, which is at the Hawkins Arena at Mercer University, in the arena there, we're able to set up a very large dance floor. So we have 70 tables of 10 on the floor. And then in the middle is this open big square. And it's really cool to look out while you're playing and see heads just dancing and bobbing up and down. And some people do the conga line. They come through right in front of the stage. I mean, that's what we want. Yeah. And then we do a concert at the Grand Opera House, which is still a little bit more traditional, but we still had people dancing in the pit on a funk concert that we did the previous season. And then we'll do a couple of outdoor concerts.
I did a little research. I mean, we've been friends for a long time,
Yes.
and we've supported Macon Pops.
Which
my
we're
wife
grateful.
And I have, but one article I read said that you were a passionate percussionist that played with nuance and expression. Did you write that, or did somebody else write that?
Yeah, I paid somebody to write that, actually. I was like, what does that mean? But it looks good. I'll put it in my bio. I don't know what it means.
Right. Are you a percussionist? Because all the girls like the percussion. No, seriously, when did you start, and how did you get involved? And who do you want to shout out to, like you wouldn't be where you are today?
Sure. I started very young. I was 4 years old. My brother got a drum set for his 10th birthday. He's 6 years older than me. And I was just mesmerized watching him play. And I had an uncle on my dad's side of the family that would play for fun. And a couple of other uncles, they would jam together. And so music was always around my family. And my mom is actually a very good singer, but nobody was crazy enough to pursue it as a career. And so I watched him play that day, and I just was completely in awe. And so the next morning, I remember walking downstairs and kind of sort of standing up and kind of trying to lean against the stool and barely reach everything. And I just started playing boom, cats, boom, boom. And my mom came down the stairs and she thought it was him. And it was early in the morning too, mind you. It was about 8 in the morning. So she's probably like, what is he doing? And then I'll never forget the look on her face. So she was just like, what? So we moved to California when I was 7. And we were very fortunate to have really strong music programs from elementary through high school. But in particular, my middle school and high school band directors were extremely, for the pun, instrumental in my development. And I still keep in touch with them today. And they followed my career and the different things I'm doing. And so I'm very grateful for that experience. And that's why I'm very passionate about music and arts and arts education. And Macon Pops is certainly working on having a larger footprint in our community for that.
Now, tell us about Matt. As I understand it, there's someone named Matt that you work closely with. Tell us about how you guys met, what you guys collaborate on, and what that looks like.
Well, none of this would be possible without Matt. I mean, Matt Kattengoob is his name. He's our co-founder and artistic director and conductor, and I've been his drummer for 23 years.
Wow.
And I met him in grad school, actually. Concord Records, which was based in the Bay Area at the time, he was putting out a record, and they wanted to take it kind of in an old school approach where they audition young college age people and take the band, kind of like what they would do back in the day with some of these famous big bands. So he went up and down California, and at the time we were very fortunate to have a really strong jazz band at Cal State Hayward in the Bay Area, which is where I was getting my master's. And I was told initially that they had a professional rhythm section, so they were just coming to audition for horns. And the funny thing is, I wasn't going to go to school that day because I was sick. But for those of you who've been in graduate school, if you have a research and bibliography or one of these other classes, if you don't attend those, it's like missing 5 classes. So I went to school because I just didn't want to have to make up all of that work. And so I went to jazz band, and Matt came in and he put some charts in front of us that we sight read and obliterated them because the band was so good. And afterwards he's like, "Hey, you want to play in the band?" And I was like, "What do you mean? I thought you had some guys in LA playing." So we were together for a very short time rehearsing. We went to Skywalker Ranch, cut our first record. Then we went to Stuttgart, Germany, and filmed the PBS special with Rosemary Clooney, and became Rosemary Clooney's band for the last 4 or 5 years of her life.
Wow.
And then he was already doing some symphony conducting at that point in time. And how I got into this symphony pops world, which was not on my radar, mind you. I was not even thinking about that. But Tony Tennille from Captain and Tennille, he was their music director for the band, but he was also her symphony conductor. And she was looking for a drummer for her symphony show. And he said, "I got a guy." And so she hired me for the first year's worth of concerts based on that recommendation. So that's how I met Matt. And a segue to the side story to that, that's also how I met Amy. My very first job with Tony Tennille playing with an orchestra is how I met Amy. So I always make a joke to Matt, it's like, I owe you my life, basically. I mean,
So where were you when you met Amy?
she was concertmaster of the Florida Orchestra in the Tampa St. Pete area. She was finishing up her first season. So I was the guest artist coming in with Tony, and that's where we met. And that was the May of 2000, and we got married in 2001.
All right.
So, and here we are, still married.
That's cool. We interview a lot of people who make a difference in Middle Georgia and Macon, and it's pretty amazing the talent that we have in Macon, and we're very thankful for that. What were the things that kind of attracted you and Amy to say you were going to come be part of this? Because you were a West Coast guy, right?
Right.
And Macon's a little bit different than the West Coast guy.
It is.
So how'd that happen?
Well, so Bobby McDuffie reached out to Amy, and she'd met Bobby and played with him in the past. In fact, when she was in Florida, she was concertmaster when he soloed with them. And then when we were living in Oregon, there's the Chamber Music Northwest that Bobby and Amy were participating in, and he had talked to her about this idea he had for this string program. And fast forward another year later, he's like, "Hey, would you be interested in maybe running the program?" And it was just something we thought about, and so we came and checked it out. And for me at the time, it really didn't matter because pre-COVID, I'm flying 130,000 miles a year doing concerts. So as long as I can get to an airport, I don't care.
Right.
It seemed like a really wonderful opportunity for her to mold something from the ground up and be in charge of such a prestigious program, still giving her the performance abilities that she needs to not only for her satisfying that artistic soul, but it's a great recruiting tool when these students from all around the world come to her performances. And if she does a master class, that's why they're able to attract some of the top talent. So for me, it really didn't matter. And digging deeper into Macon's music history, of course, those on the West Coast, we sort of knew some of the highlights, but I think, you mentioned there's so much talent, and there's talent here, and what Macon Pops has been trying to do is, we have a rich music history and a rich music history book, but I feel like we have a rich music present. And so we're trying to turn over that chapter and write this next version or this next iteration of what we hope to look back. So we always try to feature local talent each year on concerts and on our big Christmas lights too. That's something that it really highlights all of the local talent that we have in this community.
Have there been any surprises in digging into the musical history that Macon has that have just really kind of shocked you and have really stood out?
Well, when we were putting together, we did a Southern Rock concert a couple of years ago that we partnered with the Museum of Arts and Sciences and Rock Candy Tours, and Jamie did such a great job curating that. And I mean, I knew of Wet Willie, but I didn't really dig into them too much until when we had Jimmy Hall play with us with Chuck Leavell. Gosh, I think it was our second or third season. And just Jimmy Hall's energy I was done in rehearsal. Like, we spent our energy in rehearsal. Right. I mean, I was sweating, he was sweating. I'm like, how are we going to do this tonight? I mean, he was just, his energy and his passion is just infectious. And so it was neat to sort of get close to that history with Chuck and Jimmy to actually, be attached to it to some degree.
Steve, my wife and I work together pretty closely, and it's not a week goes by that one of the patients say, how do you work with your spouse? And, we just say, well, we love each other. It's pretty awesome. But do y'all get that same question? Do y'all collaborate
We do.
some musically? Tell us how that works.
Yeah, I think people are surprised. And, we're sort of funny. Our date every day, we try to have lunch together because with kids, it's, extracurricular activities. There's so much going on. So it's like sort of our little time together. But we do collaborate. We will play on some things together, but really it's been more of me in a producer role for recording some projects, for her quartet, the Endless Quartet. We actually did a 2-week run during COVID and recorded 4 records worth of material. We had, I think it was 130 hours worth of music, of the whole Beethoven cycle. And then, there's a couple of other projects. So we'll collaborate a lot in that sort of sense, and we work really well together. I think we both have such high respect for each other, and when I'm working on something too, especially if I'm mixing a project, I'll get her ears on it because she'll come at it in a different way.
Right. Now that brings up, you do a lot of production work.
I do.
I mean, people may not realize that, but you do. Tell us a little bit about that. I was watching a video today, kind of preparing for the interview, of the tribute y'all did for, I guess, the 9/11 workers. Tell us about that and how you put all these things together, and what some of your favorite things you've done production-wise.
Well, that was interesting. The Jens Lindman, who was one of our artists this past season, it was for to honor all the healthcare workers, and so he knows everybody in the music world, especially in the trumpet area. So he got 24 different trumpet players from, I can't remember the number of countries. And it was the COVID really tested a lot of us. We all had the ability to record from home. I've got my drums behind me mic'd up, and I'll cut tracks for clients frequently, but to try to bring something together where it sounded like all of us were in the same room, even though we weren't. Right. It pushes. The beautiful thing about music and about production, I find, is there's always constant challenges, and I think that's what keeps me going, is working through that. So it was fun putting all of that together, and Matt Kattengoop also is he's an amazing producer and arranger, and so he is also a master of putting all of that together as well too.
So you're probably, I suspect you're a perfectionist. So
Sorry.
I'd say there's certain things you want to be OCD about, and probably if you're doing music or if you're working on people's legs, you want to be a perfectionist.
Of course.
But when do you know something's done?
It's interesting. I'll have a good feeling about, I was just working on a project today, and I did 2 mixes. I did a mix, it sounded pretty good, and I was like, well, I'm gonna make a couple changes. And I was like, it's pretty good. And so I'll let it sit for a little bit, but because I'm a perfectionist, I'll pop it in the car and I'll drive and listen to it, and I'll think to myself, I should probably change that. And it's like a micro adjustment that nobody's gonna know, but it'll make me, I'll know, but I think all these little things, just like, with video production, when you make these little micro adjustments, it just glues everything else together, and it really enhances that final product.
So Talk of the Town has been growing. We're all over social media, and recently WMGT, which is the NBC affiliate in town, picked us up, and we're in, I think it's 30 or 40 counties in the Middle Georgia area right now. Inevitably, there's going to be some kid that's going to watch this, and they're going to say, hey, I'm inspired by this guy. I've heard the Macon Pops play. What do you think you would tell that kid?
Oh, I would say, keep after it. If you're inspired to do something and you're passionate about it, there's also hard work. There's talent, I think, in everybody, and to some degree. It's taking that talent and working on it. I mean, there's so many parallels. I mean, in the medical field, obviously, you have to train, you have to practice, and you don't just go, let me cut your leg open, and I mean, there's you obviously have there's knowledge and stuff, but there's a lot of hard work behind. It's what you do off the field that makes you great on the field. So it's the same thing, and I really try to make sure that young, whatever they want to pursue, that whatever passion that they have, that they stick with it, and that they really put that 10,000 hours. Everyone likes to use that analogy, but it's true. I mean, to get to a level in something, there's that constant working, and I think probably like a profession like yours where everyone's legs are different, so you can't approach it the same way. Just like music, when somebody sends me a track, I can't just have a preset. It's like, there we go, I'm good. Everything is different, and so that's what I love. I love that challenge. Just like with Macon Pops concerts, we mic everything up, but venues are going to sound different. Things are going to be different, and that kind of keeps me on my toes a little bit, and I think it keeps me hungry to keep and continue growing and getting better.
Hey, were you in a movie with Clint Eastwood? Who's the director? Maybe.
Kinda.
Yeah. What was your role in that movie? What movie was it? And
it was.
Do you see yourself in there? You recognize yourself?
Well, it was the Jersey Boys movie, which was a lot different than the Broadway production. I think the movie. Unfortunately, my royalty check isn't what it should be because the movie didn't do that well. Darn it. It's like the one time I'm playing live in a film, I think people had this expectation that it was going to be like the Broadway, but it was not. It was a completely different backstory about their lives. And really, it was a rough life that they all lived. So all of the performance sequences, Clint is a huge music fanatic, jazz in particular, and he plays piano. He wanted all of the performance sequences in that movie to be live. So when they say action, Pro Tools is running off to the side and the click happens and you got to play. And if you mess up, the whole shot's got to be done. So it was a little stressful, but I'm at the final sequence in the movie. It's when the Jersey Boys get inducted to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Really?
And for that scene, I was on set for 18 hours because they were in old makeup. So we had to shoot everything. They got the music, so they would play it back, and we ended up playing along with ourselves. So they did all these different angles. They had 300 extras at the Biltmore Hotel, and then we took a break, and we had to do it all over again because they took the makeup off, and they were young, so like a flashback kind of a thing. And so it was a really. I loved it. I love all that stuff.
Is that going to be on your tombstone? I was in a movie with Clint Eastwood, because it would be on mine if that was.
It was interesting because he has a Macon connection. He filmed Trouble with the Curve here, and we talked a lot about the tax incentives and especially for the film. And he said he wouldn't have been able to film that at all. And what I've been trying to work on is getting the music tax credits to be sort of up to where the film is, so we can keep people here in Macon when they do their productions after they're done filming, and we want to get scoring and all that stuff. But just watching the whole production and how that movie was made was a pretty neat experience.
Now, speaking of movies and working with famous people like Clint, can you think of any memorable stories about someone that you've shared the stage with and have worked with?
My goodness. Well, I was really close to Rosemary Clooney. I mean, she's not the biggest celebrity per se, but everyone knows her from White Christmas, of course. But just we became very close, and she sang at our wedding, which was pretty special.
So what did she sing?
She sang a song called the Promise Song, which I wasn't familiar with, and we were the only people outside of her family that she sang at. So then when Tony Tennille found out Rosemary was singing, Tony said, well, if Rosemary's singing, I'm singing because I'm responsible for the meeting. So we had Rosemary Clooney and Tony Tennille sing at our wedding.
What Tony sang?
She sang I'm Glad There Is You, which is a nice song. But I would say one of the most memorable experiences playing with Michael McDonald. His musicianship, and it was just awe-inspiring. Him just hearing his voice, and I was sitting not much farther than we are, and we were pretty close on stage together. And there were a couple of songs, or one in particular, where it was just him and strings, and the rhythm section was out. And I just remember, I had my in-ear monitors on, and I'm just sitting there, like with Michael McDonald filling my head, and his voice was just, I would say that was one of the most incredible musical experiences.
Now, the Macon Pops, that concept was something you and Matt really came up with. Is that pretty
it was taking
accurate statement? I mean,
it is
from other people, but
it's we'd been doing this pops thing for a long time, but we're typically in a concert hall. The orchestra's in tuxes. There's not generally a lot of production. Now that's starting to change a little bit, but we just had this idea of there's got to be a better way to engage the audience, to garner younger people, to try to cover a wide range of musical styles. I think a lot of times orchestras get afraid of pushing the musical envelope because they have their subscribers that they want to cater to, but they want to also try to appeal to the younger audiences to hopefully garner future supporters. So it's a delicate balancing act. And so for us, we sit down and figure out what we want to play, what genre haven't we covered yet, and like next year's our 10th season, and I'll give you guys the first dirt. This is exclusive information, y'all. We haven't even announced our season yet. So we're doing, the first show we're going to do, the working title is 22 for 22. So it's taking the 2000s from 2000 to 2022, and so top, very well-known hit in 2000, 2001, each year, highlight a hit, which would be all over the map musically. Right. So that's going to be kind of fun.
Yeah. Where will that event be?
That'll be at Hawkins Arena in August. We're still solidifying dates with the arena.
So that's cool. It's air conditioned there. You don't have to worry. It's August. You come out.
Yeah. And bars, you can come and drink and have some food, have a good time. And then the second concert, which will be at the Grand Opera House in November, mid-November, that's going to be, it's a night of Gershwin music. So it's something we haven't done. And Matt did an incredible arrangement of Gershwin's Rhapsody in Blue. So he took the original piano part, but totally redid it in his style with the big band and everything. It's quite remarkable. And there's just a bunch of neat Gershwin hits. I think that some people don't realize what he wrote. And then we'll do the Christmas concert. And then we'll have our Cherry Blossom concert at the end of March, which is going to be kind of a classic, highlighting classic rock. So everything from Zeppelin to Queen.
You just did one last weekend, right?
We did, the Tunes and Balloons. That was a lot of fun. And the other thing we're doing, which we haven't also announced, we're adding a fifth concert now. So really? This next one's going to be May 28th at the Museum of Arts and Sciences at the beautiful amphitheater. And so that's this May. And that's going to be the best of the Beatles with our 7-piece band. So we're going to highlight hits from those 4 famous records. But the following season, we're going to do, our band that was Rosemary Clooney's band was called Big Kahuna and the Copa Cat Pack. It was this Hawaiian swing band, Matt being the Big Kahuna. So we're going to resurrect that Hawaiian swing. So it's taking, regular standards, but also famous Hawaiian songs and putting them in this sort of, jump swing, very energetic. So it'll be kind of an aloha-inspired luau at the Museum of Arts and Sciences.
Steve, also, is it challenging to cover that many genres of music? I mean, you've just sat here and listed, 5, 6, 7 different genres that you guys are covering?
It's challenging, but it's. I think that's what, again, we wouldn't be able to do it without Matt. I mean, he's the genius behind the music. I can come up with all I want, but he's got to write all the arrangements. So, and he's just so amazing at that. We wouldn't be able to do, and that's what makes us special is all of the shows that we do are what we call handcrafted. So nobody's doing these shows in this way because nobody has these arrangements.
Wow.
Do y'all do the Pops you didn't take the show somewhere else? I know y'all do some things in Hawaii probably and around, but is it different or is it the same music?
Well, it's there might be some shows that we will start here in Macon that other orchestras will look to do, like our Dancing Through the Decades. But no, what Macon Pops is doing is very special.
Right. When you have a vision for something you're going to create and you go for it and you don't really know what it's going to be like, how has this been compared to what you thought in your wildest imagination?
Yeah, I think it's turned out a lot bigger than I thought it would be. I mean, Matt and I just it was something we wanted to do, but I think the the support behind it, and which allows us the ability to continue to push the musical envelope. It's much bigger than I anticipated, which we're grateful. I mean, we're coming into our 10th season. You know, if you told me 15 years ago I'd run my own nonprofit, I would say you're nuts. You couldn't pay me to do it. I mean, I'm not getting paid, but you know what I'm saying? It's like it's a lot of work. You know, all the day-to-day stuff, which people don't see all that. And I also produce the shows, so there's a lot of work behind the scenes to bring all of those pieces together. Because even though there's a year's worth of planning, we're a one-day operation, and that's what keeps us economical. And so, you know, we run the show that afternoon with just a quick run-through, a break, we play the concert. So we don't do multiple rehearsals.
Well, on behalf of Middle Georgia, we really thank you for your effort, your talent, and contributing to making this place, making a better place to live.
Well, thank you, and we appreciate your support. And you know, we can't do that without the support of the community.
And if there's a place that someone that's watching wants to go to be able to support you guys, where would you want to point them?
Yeah, I mean, we're all over social media, so you can reach us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and all that stuff. But our MaconPops.com, there's support or donate now. There's all levels. You know, we're starting to do monthly things now where people will, you know, put $25 a month or whatnot. But every bit, and it's tax deductible, so every bit adds up. You know, being a nonprofit, so we're grateful for the support that we have. But if you're interested and you want to support Macon Pops, definitely go to our website, MaconPops.com. You can email me, Steve@MaconPops.com. I'll take care of you.
Well, Steve, I went to your last concert, and after going to it, I'm definitely going to your next one. So thanks for all that you do for us and for Middle Georgia. We do appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate the opportunity.
And thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned for where me and Dr. Harper might show up next. You never know where that might be.
I'm a nursing professor, mother of 4, and very active, playing in sports my entire life. After each pregnancy, my legs got worse, and I started running again to lose baby weight, but nothing helped how my legs looked. I was self-conscious in a bathing suit or shorts, and my legs ached after sitting or standing too long. That's when I went to vein specialists of the South. The ultrasounds they performed were very thorough, and they explained everything in detail. I knew then I picked the right place for vein care. During my procedures, I was never uncomfortable, and they played my favorite praise music the whole time. I can't say enough good things about the staff. I've never been to an office where everyone I came in contact with was smiling and happy to help in every way. I'm very happy with how my legs look now. It's a drastic difference, and I have confidence in myself again. If you need vein care, I encourage you to call Vein Specialists of the South today. It's the best choice you'll make.